My name is Lauren Hayes. I'm 29 years old, and for most of my life, I learned how to stay quiet in rooms where I was slowly disappearing, not because I was weak, but because every time I tried to speak, I was reminded exactly where I stood, at the bottom. That truth stayed buried for years under forced smiles, polite laughter, and a family name that looked perfect from the outside. Until one night, my father said it out loud, not behind closed doors, not in private, in front of everyone, and that's when everything changed. It happened at a private dinner in downtown Manhattan. The kind of place where the lighting is soft, the plates are art, and the people pretend to love each other. There were about 18 of us, family, business partners, people who only showed up when there was something to gain, crystal glasses, designer suits, conversations that sounded warm but felt empty. I was sitting near the end of the table, not hidden, just not important enough to be noticed. That was my role. My father, Richard Hayes, stood up like he always did when he wanted control of the room. He didn't need to raise his voice. People listened anyway. He tapped his glass lightly, and then he looked straight at me. The room went quiet. "Lauren," he said, calm and sharp, "has become a problem. Not a daughter, not a partner, a problem." I felt every eye in the room shift toward me. My stomach dropped, but my face didn't move. I'd learned that trick a long time ago. He kept going like he was presenting numbers in a meeting. "I've given her everything," he said. "A position in my company, a place to live, a lifestyle she didn't earn." A few people nodded, of course they did. "And yet," he added, "she still thinks she deserves more." My younger brother Ethan chuckled under his breath. That sound, I'll never forget it. My mom didn't say a word. She just stared at her plate like silence could protect her. Then came the part that broke something in me. "If you think you can survive without me," my father said, lifting his glass, "prove it." A pause, 5 days, no money, no name, no help. "Let's see what you're actually worth." The table stayed quiet, but inside me, something snapped, not loudly, not dramatically, just finally. I reached into my purse, pulled out my apartment keys, my company badge. The car key he insisted I drive, so I fit the image, and I placed them on the table, one by one. The sound echoed more than his voice ever did. My mom leaned toward me. "Lauren, don't do this," she whispered. But I already had. "I accept," I said, simple, calm, real. For the first time that night, my father actually looked at me, not through me, at me, like he was trying to figure out who I was, what he didn't know. I had already been preparing for this moment, for months, quietly, carefully, because while he thought I was dependent on him, I had been uncovering everything he was hiding. And in less than 72 hours, his entire empire would start collapsing. Before I continue, what would you do in my place? Would you walk away or fight back? I didn't go home that night. I checked into a small hotel in Queens. Nothing fancy, just a bed, a desk, and silence. For the first time in years I could think, no expectations, no watching eyes, no pretending, just me and the truth. I opened my laptop, not the one from the office, the old one. The one no one knew about, and I started organizing everything. Files, transfers, contracts, years of quiet observation finally coming together. You see, officially I worked as a financial analyst in my father's company. But in reality, I was the one fixing problems no one else could see. Every deal, every projection, every risk, if something didn't add up, it landed on my desk. But I never got credit. That always went to Ethan. He had the title. The recognition, the spotlight, I had the work. For years I told myself it didn't matter, that eventually someone would notice, but no one ever did. And that's the thing about being invisible. People forget you're watching. They forget you're learning. They forget you're keeping track. 3 months before that dinner, I found something. At first it looked small. A missing amount in one of our development projects in Florida. Nothing major until I looked deeper. The numbers didn't match. Money was moving but not where it should, so I followed it, quietly, carefully, and what I found wasn't a mistake, it was a pattern. That small discrepancy turned into something much bigger. Money wasn't just missing, it was being moved. Hidden, repackaged through shell companies with names so generic you'd forget them the second you read them. I remember staring at my screen at 2 a.m., refreshing the same file over and over like it would somehow change. It didn't. The deeper I dug, the worse it got. Millions, then tens of millions, all tied back to one thing my father should have never touched, a family trust. That trust wasn't just money. It was built by my grandfather, a man who believed in structure, discipline, and rules. He made it clear, very clear, that those funds were never to be used for risky ventures. They were meant to protect the family, not fund someone's ego. But my father, he treated it like his personal safety net, and the most dangerous part, he thought no one would ever notice. I didn't confront him, not yet, because I knew something he didn't. Evidence beats emotion every time. So I kept going, late nights, locked doors, files copied onto drives he didn't know existed. I built timelines, connected transactions, matched signatures, and that's when I found something that made my hands go cold. Some of those approvals weren't real, they were forged, and the name on them, my brother's. Now let me be clear, Ethan wasn't smart enough to pull something like that off, but he was careless enough to let it happen, or worse, ignore it. And that told me everything I needed to know. This wasn't just bad management, this was fraud. I remember sitting back in my chair just staring at the wall because at that moment I had a choice: stay quiet and stay safe, or speak up and burn everything down. And for a long time I did nothing, not because I was scared of the truth, but because I knew what it would cost: family, reputation, everything. But then that dinner happened. And suddenly I had nothing left to protect. The morning after I left, my phone was chaos: calls, messages, voicemails, my mom crying, my brother angry, my father cold. "Come back to the office Monday," his message said. Or "don't come back at all." No apology, no reflection, just control. I didn't respond. Instead, I kept working. By the second day, I had everything organized: every transfer, every violation, every lie. But I still needed one thing: leverage, something legal, something undeniable, and that's when I remembered my grandfather's attorney. I hadn't spoken to her in years, but I still had her number. I hesitated before calling, because I knew once I made that call there was no going back. Then I hit dial. She answered on the second ring. "Lauren," she said, like she'd been expecting me. That alone made my heart race. "I think something's wrong," I told her. A pause, then she said something I'll never forget. "I was wondering when you'd figure it out." Turns out, I wasn't the only one who noticed things didn't add up, but without someone from the family stepping forward, her hands were tied. "Not anymore," I told her everything, sent documents, explained what I found, and when I finished there was silence on the line, not doubt, not confusion, just confirmation. "This is serious," she said. "Your father has crossed legal lines he cannot uncross." I closed my eyes, even though I already knew that. Hearing it out loud, that hit differently. "There's a board meeting on Monday, right?" she asked. "Yes," I said. "Good," she replied. That's when we act. Sunday night I barely slept, not because I was unsure, but because I finally wasn't. For the first time in my life, I knew exactly what I was about to do. Monday morning came fast. I didn't wear anything fancy. No designer labels, no family image, just a simple black blazer and the truth. When I walked into that building, no one stopped me. They didn't even know what was coming. The boardroom was already full. Executives, investors, my father at the head of the table, Ethan beside him looking like he had already won something. My chair, empty. Of course it was. My father was mid-sentence when I walked in. He stopped, just for a second. Then his expression hardened. "Lauren," he said, "you're no longer part of this meeting." I didn't respond. I just walked to the table and sat down right across from him. The room went silent. "I'm not here as your employee," I said calmly. "I'm here as a beneficiary." Confusion spread across a few faces. My father leaned forward. "You don't know what you're doing," he said quietly. I looked him in the eyes. "For the first time," I said, "I do." And right on cue, the doors opened. The doors opened and everything changed. 3 people walked in, 2 legal representatives. And the one person my father never expected to see standing beside me, my grandfather's attorney. Calm, focused, unshaken, she didn't rush, didn't raise her voice. She simply walked to the table and placed a folder in front of every board member. "This meeting," she said, "is now under legal review." You could feel the shift instantly, the confidence in the room, gone. My father stood up. "This is inappropriate," he snapped. "You have no authority here." She didn't even look at him. "Actually," she said, opening her own file, "we do." Then she turned to the board. "These documents outline unauthorized use of protected family trust assets, falsified approvals, and financial misrepresentation tied directly to this company." No drama. "Just facts, and facts don't flinch." My father laughed, not because it was funny, because he thought he could still control the narrative. "This is a misunderstanding," he said. "Lauren is emotional, she's been under stress." There it was. The same tactic he'd always used: minimize, dismiss, control, but this time it didn't work. "Then explain this," I said. I slid a document across the table. A transaction record, time-stamped, verified. He didn't touch it. So I kept going, and this, another file, and this, one more, each one heavier than the last, each one louder than anything I could have said. The room changed, people leaned forward, whispers started, phones came out. For the first time in years, my father wasn't the most powerful person in the room. The truth was, one of the board members cleared his throat. "Are these claims verified?" he asked. The attorney nodded. "Every document has been cross-checked and legally reviewed." A pause, then she added, "And this is only the surface." My brother shifted in his seat. I could see it on his face. Fear, real fear. "Lauren, what are you doing?" he said under his breath. I looked at him. "Fixing what you ignored." Then came the moment, the one I didn't even realize I had been waiting for my entire life. The head of the board stood up, slow, serious. "This is no longer a routine meeting," he said. "This is an internal crisis." He looked at my father. "Until this is resolved, you are suspended from all executive authority." Silence, heavy, final. My father didn't argue. Didn't shout, he just sat there, like a man realizing the rules had finally caught up to him. Then it got worse for Ethan. Another file slid across the table, this one smaller, more personal, unauthorized loans, hidden accounts. Signatures that didn't quite match, his hands started shaking. This isn't, he stuttered, but there was no clean way out, there never is. Within minutes, security was called, not loudly, not dramatically, just quietly, efficient. My brother was asked to leave. My father, he didn't move, he just stared at the table like if he didn't look up, none of it would be real. And me, I sat there, not smiling, not celebrating, just breathing. Because for the first time, I wasn't invisible anymore. After the room cleared, it was just a few of us left, board members, legal. Silence. Then one of them looked at me and said, "We should have listened to you sooner." I nodded. Not because I needed the apology, but because I had already made peace with never getting one. They offered me a leadership role, power, authority, recognition, everything I had been denied for years, and for a moment I considered it. Then I shook my head. "I'm not here to replace him," I said. "I'm here to make sure this never happens again, because this was never about revenge, it was about truth. The fallout messy, of course it was. My father lost control of the company, my brother disappeared from the business completely, some family members blamed me, others suddenly respected me, funny how that works. My mom called me a few days later. For the first time, she didn't sound afraid. "I should have stood up for you," she said quietly. I didn't say anything for a second, then I just replied, "I know," and for once that was enough. I moved into a small apartment. Nothing fancy, but everything inside it was mine, earned, not given. I started my own consulting firm, helping companies fix the kind of problems no one wants to admit exist. And you know what's ironic? Some of the same people who once ignored me now pay me to find the truth. If you've ever felt overlooked, dismissed, or underestimated, listen to me carefully. Being ignored is not weakness. It's time to learn, time to see. Time to prepare, because when the moment comes, you won't need to be loud, you'll just need to be right. Before you go, tell me honestly, what would you have done? Stayed silent or exposed everything? This is real life revenge series. If this story hit you in any way, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Because sometimes the strongest comeback is simply telling the truth.